Patton was drafting his report to the Pentagon recommending immediate American production of an assault rifle based on the captured Sturmgewehr. 44. The German weapon was revolutionary. Select fire capability. 30-round detachable magazine. Intermediate cartridge. It made the M1 Garand look obsolete. His report would change American weapons doctrine forever. Then a German weapons engineer asked to speak with him privately and revealed something that would have killed American soldiers by the thousands. The STG-44 had a catastrophic gas system flaw that caused receiver fractures after 800 to 1,200 rounds, and Nazi engineers had known about it since 1943 but couldn't fix it without halting production. Over 425,000 defective rifles had been issued to Wehrmacht troops. Patton tore up his report, but what he learned from that engineer led to the M14 and M16 programs, American assault rifles that learned from German mistakes rather than copying German failures. April 1945. Patton's forces had captured a Wehrmacht supply depot near Ohrdruf, Germany. Among the seized equipment were 17 Sturmgewehr 44 rifles. The Sturmgewehr, or assault rifle, the first of its kind ever produced. American intelligence had been tracking reports of this weapon for months. German troops called it a miracle weapon. Allied soldiers who faced it called it a nightmare. It could fire full auto like a submachine gun, but with rifle accuracy and range, nothing in the Allied arsenal matched it. Patton ordered the weapons brought to his command post immediately. He wanted to see for himself what made this rifle so revolutionary. Captain Robert Hayes, Patton's ordnance officer, had already conducted preliminary testing. "Sir, this weapon is extraordinary. 30-round detachable magazine, select fire between semi-auto and full auto, fires a 7.9 2 by 33 millimeter intermediate cartridge, more power than a pistol round, less recoil than a full rifle cartridge. It's the perfect infantry weapon." Patton picked up one of the captured rifles. It was lighter than the M1 Garand, more compact with clean lines and modern design. He chambered a round and moved to the firing range they'd set up. For the next hour, Patton tested the Sturmgewehr 44 against the M1 Garand. The results were humbling. The German rifle fired faster, carried more ammunition, and was more controllable in full auto. In close-quarters combat simulations, it dominated the American weapon. "Hayes," Patton said, setting down the rifle, "I want a full technical analysis. Disassemble these weapons, document everything, and prepare a comprehensive report. The Pentagon needs to see this immediately." What Patton didn't know was that one of the captured German POWs had been listening to the entire testing session, and what that prisoner knew would change everything. Oberingenieur Klaus Richter had been a weapons engineer at the Mauser factory in Suhl, Germany. He had worked on the Sturmgewehr 44 program from its inception in 1942 through his capture by American forces 3 weeks earlier. When he heard that General Patton was testing captured STG-44 rifles and preparing a report for American High Command, Richter made a decision that could have gotten him executed by SS loyalists in the POW camp. He asked to speak with the American general immediately. The request went through Captain Hayes, who was skeptical. "Sir, a German POW is requesting an urgent meeting with you. Says he has critical information about the Sturmgewehr." Patton was in the middle of dictating his Pentagon report. He was annoyed at the interruption. Does he want to surrender technical information? He says what he knows could save American lives. Those were his exact words. Patton paused. "Bring him in." 10 minutes later, Klaus Richter stood before General Patton, flanked by 2 guards. He was thin, exhausted, but his eyes were sharp and focused. "Herr General," Richter said in accented but clear English. I understand you are recommending American production of a rifle based on the Sturmgewehr 44. Patton's eyes narrowed. Who told you that? I overheard your testing. The walls are thin, and I recognize the enthusiasm in your voice. I have heard it before from German officers who did not know the truth. What truth? Richter took a deep breath. The Sturmgewehr 44 has a fatal flaw. The gas system causes catastrophic receiver fractures after approximately 800 to 1,200 rounds of sustained fire. We discovered this in testing in 1943. Nazi command ordered production anyway. Over 425,000 defective rifles were issued to Wehrmacht troops. The room went silent. Captain Hayes stepped forward. That's impossible. We've tested captured STG-44s extensively. They function perfectly. How many rounds have you fired through each rifle? Richter asked. Hayes hesitated. Maybe 200 to 300 rounds per weapon. Then you have not reached the failure threshold, Richter said. The fractures begin around 800 rounds. By 1,200 rounds, the receiver can shatter during firing, sending metal fragments into the shooter's face. I have seen it happen. I have treated soldiers injured by their own weapons. Patton's face was stone. You're telling me the German army issued nearly 500,000 rifles they knew would fail? We were desperate, Richter said quietly. By 1943, we were losing. The Eastern Front was collapsing. Command needed a weapon that could match Soviet submachine guns in close combat. The Sturmgewehr was that weapon, but the gas system design was flawed from the beginning. Too much pressure, inadequate venting, cheap metals due to material shortages. We told command it needed redesign. They said there was no time. Soldiers died because of that decision. Patton could have dismissed Richter as a liar trying to sabotage American weapons development. But something in the engineer's voice, exhaustion mixed with guilt, made him pause. Captain Hayes, select one of the captured rifles. I want continuous firing until we reach 1,000 rounds. Document everything. Over the next 6 hours, American ordnance specialists fired a single Sturmgewehr 44 continuously, allowing cooling breaks between magazines. Richter watched silently. At 734 rounds, the first hairline crack appeared along the receiver. At 891 rounds, the crack had propagated 3 inches. At 1,047 rounds during a full auto burst, the receiver fractured with a sharp metallic crack. Gas vented directly backward into where a shooter's face would have been. The rifle was rendered completely inoperable. Captain Hayes stared at the destroyed weapon in shock. If someone had been firing this, they would have been blinded or killed, Richter finished. This is what happened to hundreds of Wehrmacht soldiers. Command classified it as combat casualties to hide the defect. Patton picked up his draft report to the Pentagon. 3 pages recommending immediate development of an American assault rifle based on the Sturmgewehr design. He stared at it for a long moment. Then he tore it in half. Patton spent the next 2 hours interrogating Richter about every aspect of the Sturmgewehr's design. What worked, what failed, why the Germans made the choices they did. What emerged was a sobering picture. The Sturmgewehr 44 was a brilliant concept executed desperately by a collapsing regime. Rushed production, material shortages, slave labor sabotage, and impossible demands from Nazi command had turned a revolutionary weapon into a death trap. The concept is sound, Richter explained. Intermediate cartridge, select fire, high-capacity magazine. This is the future of infantry weapons. But the execution must be perfect. You cannot rush it. You cannot use inferior materials. You cannot ignore fundamental engineering problems because production deadlines demand it. Patton leaned back in his chair. Why are you telling me this? You could have stayed silent. Let us copy your mistakes. Richter was quiet for a moment. Because I am tired of soldiers dying for leadership failures. German soldiers died because Nazi command valued production numbers over soldier safety. If American soldiers die for the same reason, then this war taught us nothing. Patton studied the German engineer. Then he made a decision that would influence American weapons development for decades. Captain Hayes, I want Richter assigned to our Ordnance Intelligence Unit as a technical consultant. I want every detail of the Sturmgewehr program documented. What succeeded, what failed, and why. We're not going to copy the Germans. We're going to learn from their mistakes and build something better. Klaus Richter spent the next 18 months working with American weapons engineers, providing detailed analysis of the Sturmgewehr 44's design, flaws, and potential improvements. His insights directly influenced the development of American assault rifle programs in the 1950s and 1960s. The M14 and later the M16 incorporated the Sturmgewehr's revolutionary concepts, intermediate cartridge, select fire capability, high-capacity magazines, while avoiding its catastrophic flaws. Patton's torn-up report never reached the Pentagon. Instead, he submitted a different document. Lessons from Captured German Assault Rifle Program, Engineering Analysis and Recommendations. It became required reading at Army Ordnance School. Richter emigrated to the United States in 1947 and worked as a consultant for Springfield Armory. He never sought publicity for his role in American weapons development. When interviewed in 1968, he said simply, I helped design a weapon that killed soldiers on both sides, some by enemy fire, some by engineering failure. If I could help Americans avoid that second tragedy, then maybe some good came from all that death. The Sturmgewehr 44 that fractured during Patton's testing is now in the Springfield Armory Museum. Next to it is a placard with a quote from Patton's final report. The enemy's greatest weapons are sometimes their mistakes. The victor's greatest weapon is learning from them. Patton never built an American copy of the Sturmgewehr 44. But by listening to an enemy engineer who chose truth over loyalty, he ensured that when America finally built its own assault rifle, it would be done right, even if it took 20 more years. Sometimes the most important victory is the one you avoid.